if you've ever had that experience where you wrote something that surprised yourself, and you're like, where did that come from? And it came from the process. It came from writing your way into this other place in your brain. So journaling is wonderful for, it doesn't really matter how often you do it. This is another thing I stumbled upon as a young child. I felt you've got to journal every day. And then of course I didn't. And then I felt bad about it. And then I'd avoid it. So it doesn't matter if it's every day or not. It really doesn't. It's just like journal when you feel like it. Journal for as long as you feel like it. If you just write 2 sentences a day, something will happen for you. You will start to understand yourself better. You will start to notice patterns that give you insight into your life. So yeah, journaling is a fantastic thing to do.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from DomBrightmon, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to DomBrightmon.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audiobook, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of the best websites on planet Earth, known as podmatch.com, the wonderful site where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is cooler than 2 cucumbers, y'all. That's right, indeed. Because we got a treat for you, my friends, a treat for you that's good enough to eat 2 times over, because we got an award-winning author, y'all, a wonderful award-winning author who is a mom, a wife, as well as a distinguished professor and a spellbinding storyteller. So let's give it up for the lovely and delightful Lâle Davidson. How you doing today, Lâle?
Fine, thank you. You almost made me feel like clapping.
There you go. That's right, indeed. There are elves in your head dancing around. It's like, yay, Lâle, go.
Magic indeed.
That's right. Show us your ways.
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, that's right, indeed. Starting to get more professors on the show now. This is freaking great. It's like, all right.
Nice.
They're probably like, this school thing, this college thing. It's like, these checks need to be bigger. Well, let me write some stuff. This is getting old.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I
did you
teach.
always want? No, go ahead. No,
No,
ladies
you.
first. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was, teaching at the community college, and yeah, it is very hard to find time to write. We teach 5 courses a semester, and when you're teaching writing, that means lots of labor, lots of labor. There's no Scantron. You can't do multiple choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's wonderful. You really get this window into everybody's lives. And I was having a great time just yesterday afternoon with my fiction writing class. We were all laughing and sharing, the students were sharing their stories. And, it was just a lot of fun.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, did you always want to be a professor?
Both my parents were English professors, and I really could not think of anything else to do in life, that made any sense. I tried to do some other things like working at a publishing company, but I don't do cubicles well. And I also really hate pantyhose, which in the 80s everybody was wearing. Pantyhose and pumps. No, I just can't live like that. So eventually I gave in and became just like my parents.
So no escape then.
No escape. Yeah.
You must follow the trail of destiny. You must teach these children proper English that they will forget in conversation.
Well, I don't know. I do teach them a little grammar, but that is not the first thing I teach them. The first thing I teach them is writing process. how to unleash all that stuff that's stuck inside of you, how not to be afraid of the page, how to write those first drafts that are, when all the beauty that is in your head, when you first put it down on the page, it just comes out wrong, like it comes out bad. It's awful. The magic ends almost as soon as the pen hits the paper. But you push through that and you come back and you keep polishing and voila, eventually it starts to shine.
I guess the shining days. There you go. That's right. So for those listening right now who may have forgotten everything about writing and looking to write a book, am I going through a bit of the writing process so they're not afraid of the blank page with the cursor?
Yeah. I would definitely like also recommend that people start writing by hand because it changes, studies show that if you write by hand, it really changes the way your brain works. And then once you catch kind of the wind or you catch the mood, then you switch over onto the computer where presumably you can write faster. But that's just a recommendation. The first recommendation is figure out what works for you. You try out other people's ideas about how to write and how to get going. And if it doesn't work, try something else because everybody's got a different mind and a different process. So that's really important. I think I wasted a whole lot of years of my life going, it's not working like it's supposed to. It's not happening the way people said. People say, oh, I start writing and the characters start talking and it takes off. And it was not like that for me.
Is that something you give your students a lesson in too? It's like, hey, we're in English class, so no, want to be green and everything, but hey, write with the pen.
Start, yeah. I use a pencil, but again, you've got to find your writing implement. Some people like a nice glide. I like to have a little feedback from the pencil. There's like a friction, and I think I need that because of kind of writing glitches. Everybody's got little glitches in the process. So I probably have a little bit of dysgraphia, which is, problems with, actually, there's probably another word for it. Dysgraphia is when you have trouble drawing. There's a different one for when you have trouble writing. So if you looked at my handwriting, you would see it was terribly messy. Should have been a
Uh,
doctor.
she became a distinguished professor instead. Good times. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, do you journal too to add to your writing?
Yeah, and I strongly recommend journaling for anybody. I mean, there is something, again, something happens that you're sort of triggering think of it as when you start to write, you're opening up this magic chest, this, in you're gaining access into different parts of your brain that may not be available to you when you're speaking. And so it starts to change. So if if you've ever had that experience where you wrote something that surprised yourself and you're like, where did that come from? And it came from the process. It came from writing your way into this other place in your brain. So journaling is wonderful it doesn't really matter how often you do it. This is another thing I stumbled upon as a young child. I felt you've got to journal every day. And then of course I didn't. And then I felt bad about it. And then I'd avoid it. So it doesn't matter if it's every day or not. It really doesn't. It's just like journal when you feel like it. Journal for as long as you feel like it. If you just write 2 sentences a day, something will happen for you. You will start to understand yourself better. You will start to notice patterns that give you insight into your life. So, yeah, journaling is a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Nay, I'm with you on that boat about the whole journaling every day thing. Cause it's like, yeah, after a while, it's like, oh, forgot. I either got
Yeah.
sleepy or it's like,
Yeah.
oh, to do list was to doing too much.
I know that feeling.
It's like, yeah, I thought the Great Wall of China was long. It's like, oh, this keeps expanding.
Yeah, you know what? There's another little tip I have. To-do lists used to give me a total panic attack. I mean, it would just be like, and I remember, people saying to me when I was in college, well, you have to prioritize. And I was like, but it all has to be done now. I don't do to-do lists anymore. Instead, I have a vertical planner. So all my days are like lines on the page. And then I plot it out. So my to-do list is written sort of over the days. So then Monday, you only have to think about what you wrote down on Monday. And Tuesday, you only think about Tuesday. You don't think about Friday. And it really reduced my stress.
Me lucky. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Planning out them days. Y'all love to see it. Y'all love to see it. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so after all these years of basically teaching folks English, like what would you consider your I don't know. Who knows? Maybe more than one. But what would you consider your major lesson learned from one of your students that made you a better professor?
Oh, never judge them by, you really can't tell what's going on until you ask. Sometimes they, particularly at a community college, they're really underperforming, and they may look like they're completely disengaged. They may look, I'll tell you actually one story. When I first started teaching, there was this young woman in the back of the class, and she would just glare at me the whole time. She had this black hair and, bright blue eyes, and she just was, huge mascara, and she just was glaring at me all the time. And I was just like, what did I do? Like, why is she so angry at me? And then one day she came up to me after class. She said, could you help me with my paper? I'm just so scared. I'm so terrified of writing. And it hit me that fear often looks exactly like aggression on a person's face. It's often the same expression. So that was a big lesson of like, ask what's going on. It's amazing the stories they tell. Sometimes they're not true, but most of the times they're unbelievably true. It's like, well, my grandmother has cancer, and my parents asked me to drive her to her, chemo, and my dog had a heart attack. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you might need an extension.
Yeah, they're like, darn it, the work's virtual. I can't say the dog ate it. Darn.
But you can't say your dog ate it, but you can say that your computer didn't work and you couldn't get network access. So it's almost better, more believable.
Yeah, that's right. Or be naughty, be like, hey, steer your neighbor's Wi-Fi. Let me stop. Oh, that's bad advice. Let me stop. That's a good idea and a good point indeed. Because hey, that's the thing about really trying to read the room body language. Because yeah, especially from a presentation standpoint, because some folks you may think be like, oh God, like, oh, this person hates me. It's like they've been locking eyes with me the whole freaking time. Like they give me this mean look. It's like, dude, I ain't even say nothing yet. It's like I didn't even say pronouns are done. What the heck did I do? And out of nowhere, it's like after the session of the class is over. It's like, thanks, Tish. That was a great lesson. It's like, hey, bro. It's like folks process things very differently. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right
Yeah.
indeed. Or like one of my old professors would used to say, it's like, yeah, you guys are great card players. I can't tell what you're thinking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There was another class where I just was practically begging them to speak, and they just would not say anything. Like I would ask them questions and there would just be resounding silence. And I would I started to ask them more and more provocative questions like, is there a God? What if God isn't there? Kind of that, just anything to get them to say something. And finally, I was just like, you guys, why won't you talk? I don't understand. Like, is it you just don't find it interesting? And they said, "Oh no, we love your class. We talk about it all the time outside of class." So another lesson was you don't get to know sometimes what the effect is that you have.
Yeah, that's true too. I do admit I was one of those who would try not to talk to shit the questions because I don't want to get called on.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's asking questions. He's asking questions. I don't know anything. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I spent a lot of time coaching people. Like, look, I'm just, it's a simple, I'm looking like I'm just trying to get the conversation going. This is like a really say whatever you think, you can't be wrong. I'll work with you. So yeah.
So 2 plus 2 is 7. All right, good. All right, good to know.
Yeah, in another universe, sure. Let's talk about that.
Well, speaking of another universe, you got these fabulous books. That's right, indeed. Wonderful, wonderful novels,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah. Here's one, Blue Woman Burning. That's my first novel. Actually, my first book is Strange Appetites, which is a collection of short stories that I published over the years in various online magazines. And then my first novel was Blue Woman Burning, and it's about a young woman, when she was like a 12-year-old, she and her family were driving back from Santiago, Chile. They decided to drive all the way up to New York State, which our family actually did. But on the Altiplano, which is like a high desert in the Andes, the mother spontaneously combusts.
Mm.
And each child reacts differently to this. And so the rest of the book is about the young woman who is now an adult, and she's really trying to come into her own, and sort of she's finished college and she's trying to get out there, and she's just kind of crippled with insecurity and also taking care of her brother who suffers from bipolar disorder, and she's just terrified that he's going to kill himself. So they're trying to reconcile, like, did this really happen? How could this have happened? So it's a bit of a mystery. Another cataclysmic event happens, and she has to go off in search of her youngest brother. And so it's a road trip novel, it's a family novel, it's a coming of age novel, and there's a kind of mystery and magic in it. And it's partly autobiographical. My mother did not spontaneously combust, so
Cause I was too, cause I'm like,
sometimes
yeah.
I wish she would, but
Is that when you get? do you do you and your mom ever trade papers, like trade English teaching stories? And is that
oh yeah.
what brings up the combustion idea?
Yeah, not so much that. My mom, she was very, very smart, and she always was talking about how brilliant my brother was, and how brilliant, every writer in the world was, and how I needed to be more like them. And yeah, so that was when visions of fire started to dance in my head. So
Uh,
yeah, the other book was Against the Grain. So I think of this first book, The Blue Woman Burning, is like a very internal book. I think that if you're a woman and a young woman, and you're in that same situation where you're feeling insecurity and you're sort of maybe taking care of too many people, you would really identify with this. It's sort of an instruction manual of like how to get out of depression, how to value yourself. And then the next book is Against the Grain. This is a book about activists trying to save the redwood forest in California. So whereas the first book's very interior, this one's very exterior. It's very much about people out in the world. It also has a kind of a mystical element in it because I gave the trees a voice. That was dangerous because yeah, it could be funny and silly and stupid really easily. It could be like Fern Gully, which actually I love Fern Gully. It's an animated movie, but for kids. So I wanted it to be, how do you get trees to talk in English, but not sound like they're speaking in English and not sound like humans? And
oh,
I think I achieved that. So I'm proud of that achievement. And then my final book is kind of I wouldn't say it's my favorite because they're all good, but I love ghost stories. I've always loved ghost stories. My grandmother lived with us until I was 10 years old, and when she passed away, I missed her and I really wanted her to haunt me, and she didn't. So for me, ghosts were always this intriguing sort of, you know, almost comforting idea. I think they are for a lot of people, actually. So of course I consumed a lot of movies and stories, ghost stories and movies. And I mean, I love The Haunting of Hill House that was directed by Mike Flanagan. That series is fantastic. So it was really fun to kind of give my donation to the genre of ghost stories. And Beyond Sight is about another young woman who's being haunted. It takes place in Saratoga Springs, New York, where I live, which is a very kind of, hoity-toity tourist town with lots of rich people walking around because we have a racetrack and various other things. And so I thought, oh, it was really, really popular in the Gilded Age. There was also a casino here. It was 20s. There, there was a big mafia presence here as well. So I decided to write a story about a young woman who's got these supernatural powers that she's trying to repress. And then when she and her friend of hers, who she's very attracted to, explore a haunted house, they unleash something. And now she's got to resuscitate those suppressed powers to save her boyfriend. And I really tried to deal with the haves and the have nots, the kind of because wealth is so prominently visible in this town. I really tried to deal with the unspoken stories, the people who have been kind of pushed out and kind of redlined out and, developed out. It seems in this country that people of wealth, their towns tend to be beautiful because if somebody's going to install a waste plant, they will protest and they will make sure it doesn't happen. So then the waste plant will go to some, down and out community, often, where people of color live, and they will put it there and nobody's the wiser. And so then they're polluting all over the place. So I was trying to deal with those issues in this ghost story. Is one of the things that many things haunt us, particularly in this age. And it starts in the year that Trump was elected.
Ah, that's right, indeed. So now grandma might start haunting you now. It's like, yay, she mentioned it on the podcast. Now I can finally do it.
Uh-oh.
It was actually kind of funny when you were talking about the trees, though, because funny enough, we had a guest on the show, Holly Warden. She actually has a whole book about her experience talking with trees.
Oh, no
Because
kidding.
yeah, spirits would be dwelling in the trees and they would share messages with her.
Ooh, that's cool. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I have not had that experience. I do
Oh,
love,
okay. Oh,
I
I
feel
was about to
better
say.
around trees.
Oh, okay, good. 'Cause I was about to say, hopefully, you weren't around me back in the day when I was a tree.
Well, in Norse mythology, we were made from trees. So Norse mythology is really fascinating. It's got this the tree is the center of the universe in Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, and Odin or Udin discovered writing by sort of hanging himself. He sacrificed himself to himself by hanging himself off the tree. And while he was in that trance, he looked down and he saw the twigs on the ground, and they looked like letters. And so, the Norse mythology contends that that's where writing came from. He realized that this was a powerful way of speaking to people in the future. So I love that they have that tree at the center of their creation myth. So
Oh,
yeah, maybe we were all reincarnated from trees. And in a very real sense, trees are our parents because many things had to come together to make the planet habitable. But one of them was trees. That when the trees, at first there was the only life was in the ocean, and trees created the atmosphere that allowed our early ancestors to crawl out of the ocean and start walking and breathing.
so this just gives a new layer to my tree joke. This is great. All right. So right, Norse, but
Yeah,
right,
that's that
indeed.
that wisdom that's hidden in our all of our brains.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It's like, hey, did you know I was a tree once? Like, no. Yeah, according to Norse mythology. Like, wait, what?
You were.
That's right,
That true
indeed.
though? You feel so that is just a joke, or do you feel like you were a tree in another life?
Oh no, that's just my running joke. It was one day I was in CrossFit and randomly our instructor would be like, plank, and then after a while I was like, oh, and then I would joke and be like to the people next to me, be like, hey, did you know I was a tree once? And they're like, no, I didn't know you're a tree. And I was like, yep,
Yeah.
I was the burning bush that day, and some potheads grabbed me by the head and smoked me for all my knowledge. And then I woke up as a black man.
Nice. I like that. That's a good origin myth. Very nice. I used to mess around with that kind of, for fun too. And I thought I was a statue in a cave. long, long time ago. Not as good as yours, though. I like the idea of being smoked and coming out as visions in other people's minds.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about indeed. So does that involve the shrooms?
The shrooms, yes, indeed. Yeah, it is interesting though how all these visions come from plants. Kind of makes you think, right? That, smoking cannabis and mushrooms. That, in fact, I think it's in Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda. He says, and peyote, this is how the plants talk to us, is when we smoke them. And this is how you know what they're saying. Like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. That's right indeed. All the pennies and nickels. That's right indeed. All the cents. That's right indeed. So my goodness, it sounds like you like to dance around a bunch of wonderful genres. You got the wonderful collection of short stories, and then you got book number 2 with the wonderful trees, and then you got book 3 with the ghost story. So is there an idea of what to expect for book number 4?
I want to, I try to write, yes, I'm thinking about a book of short stories on America because I really feel like obviously we are going through some huge shift. And, I think we're all feeling the danger. And it feels a little bit like we're being haunted, or like I feel sometimes like we are this, like a giant being that is walking inexorably towards a cliff, and we all see the cliff, and we're all trying to stop in various ways, but we can't get this giant to stop walking. That's what it feels like. So I'm going to write a bunch of short stories about America. Probably going to be called America, and it's going to be in the. I would say, my first book of short stories, Strange Appetites, is more. I would call that more magic realism or almost surrealism. It's very surreal things happen in that, whereas the novels have an element of reality, and then surreal things happen in that reality. But I loved sort of the short stories. I loved, they are stranger, they're more tightly written, they're odder, they're shorter, because I don't want to do that to people for too long. I don't want to put them in that weird world for an entire novel. But
Right.
so I thought, yeah, I want to go back and write a series of interconnected sort of surreal stories about what we're going through, because it does feel surreal. Reality is feeling very surreal to me right now. And I think we're all kind of questioning reality. There's all that fake news, and what is fake and what is real. And I don't think it's all fake. I think that you can make distinctions between things that are more credible and things that are less credible, and that you have to work to do that. But an awful lot of people are not working to do that. An awful lot of people are just going, I can't believe anything, so I'm just going to believe whatever I want. And the problem with that is that opens us up to a coup. That opens us up to a dictatorship, because we can be so easily manipulated. So I hope it doesn't come to that. Hope we're going to get wise.
Yeah, especially those who are making those decisions.
Yeah.
The folks not in charge are probably like, hey, come on, it's right here. The snake bit you by now. The venom's already in there. Don't you realize it?
I think that's a good analogy. And like, always we've got the poison in us, but you can survive it. You can survive the poison. So let's work on that.
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. So, my goodness. So, are you a pantser or a plotter?
Oh, good question. It changes. I used to be a pantser, but that was pretty confusing and stressful. And then necessity made me have to become a plotter, because by the time I had this full-time teaching job, and then when I have had a child, I really had to organize my time, because there was no writing was going to happen unless I organized it. So if I could find a couple hours to write, I had no time to just sit there and dream. I had to, like, hit the page running. So that's when I became a plotter. But I think, yeah, I think you need to do both, and then it's just a matter of which you do first. So how about you?
Hey, sure. Definitely a plotter. Definitely. It's like, oh, I'll make this outline first and then try to put these random ideas I wrote down on a notepad onto the wonderful page and try to
Yeah.
match it up later.
Yeah. I mean, really, the magic happens in the revision part too. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter how you generate it, whether you generate it by an outline or whether you generate it, kind of organically and intuitively. Everybody's got to revise. Occasionally you get a gift from the gods where it comes out perfect that first time, but most of the times, I would say 99% of the times, you got to go back and revise and revise and revise. And my students have asked me, how many times do you revise? And I'm like, oh, I can't even count. I can tell you that I save 6 or 7 drafts, but there's a million revisions in between that. But I do save my drafts because occasionally you revise in the wrong direction and you have to go, you know what? I need to go back to the first draft, the second draft, because there was a gem in there.
Well, I resonate with that one because thank God for Microsoft Word and their version histories.
Yeah, yeah. Google Docs. Yep. Yep. You know what
Yeah,
I
cool.
love too? The latest one that program that I've been using is Scrivener. And I love it because it's, with Microsoft Word, you're always having to, you can save your chapters as separate documents, but then you got to open and close them and scroll through and you can never find stuff. In Scrivener, they really ask, so they sort of recommend that you create a new document for every scene. And then you can see it on along the left side of the page, this sort of little tiny graphic of all your different little pages. And then if you go, you've decided that your character who had, you know, red hair, you've decided they have black hair, you can go back and find it so easily. Or if you decided you want this event to happen later, you just grab and drag it. And that has made writing longer pieces so much easier for me.
Oh, good deal. All right, good deal indeed. Yeah, some days. So there you go, folks. Let's write days, Scrivener. Check it out like a library book, my friends. It's writing days, especially for those doing a long form. That's right indeed. Longer than 5 wiener dogs, maybe. That's right indeed. All the long form. So my goodness, so since you've been on a couple interviews for the work that you're doing, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're being interviewed?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I no, I don't have any. I'm happy with whatever questions people ask. Can't really think of anything. Sorry.
So no cashews or almonds? Nothing?
Let's see. No. I mean, sometimes I would say on the other interviews, sometimes I think, oh, well, ask me more about what my books are about, like, you know, what they're about or what inspired them so I can sort of feature them. I'm hoping that, or where to find them. And I can tell you where to find them at my website, laledavidson.com, which Lale is spelled weird. It looks like Lale, like, Lale Davidson. Or, you can find me on Barnes and Noble, Amazon. You can go into the bookstore and look for my books there. They will order them. They probably won't have them on the shelf, but yeah, you know, go buy my books, try them out. They're fun. I've got the book of short stories is an Audible book, and I am working on recording the rest of them. So because I personally listen to books more than I read them with my eyeballs. So I want to make them accessible to people who I find that, we don't have a lot of time. So you can listen to books while you're running or walking or exercising or driving or cleaning or painting the house, so I get a lot more read that way. And I think also, I'm a person who really doesn't like to sit still very long. So being able to move while I'm listening to books is pretty important. So I want to make I'm working on recording them. I'm a pretty good reader, and you can see that from the sample of Strange Appetites. So my husband's going to help me record them.
Yeah, so you're doing it. That's good. I love it. I love when authors read their own books. This is going to be great. Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. You're going to get the Lolly special. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right, indeed. And when the ghost story pops up out of nowhere, she'll be in your brain. Be like, yeah, go ahead, buy 10 more copies. But I bought 20, buy 10 more. Come on, you can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, I want to retire. I want to retire. So you buy my books. No, buy my books because you want to have fun. And you want to, you want to be, I just think, we're so lucky to be alive and that life is kind of magical. And it's easy to forget that because so much of it is not particularly magical. So if you feel like, you're tired of the drab reality and you just kind of want to be lifted into another magical place, then buy my books because I'll do that for you. And I really try to write them so that they grab you and pull you in and you can't put them down, but also so that they're thought provoking. I really take a lot of care with how I word things. So you have fun, but also it makes you think about stuff.
So it's quicksand. Grabs you and pulls you in, huh? Let me stop.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Maybe if you could reverse the quicksand and it pulls you up, that would be even better. Maybe a tornado. Um, what you could ask me is, what about AI? Do I use it to write with? And what am I going to do with all my students? And is this the end of teaching now that we have artificial intelligence writing for us? And the answer is no, absolutely not. A couple of students have tried to use AI in their papers, and let me tell you, it is so easy to spot. Thank God. We were all like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" And now that I've gone through it, I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I know." You immediately can tell that a machine wrote something. So I'm not going to tell you how I know because I don't want the students to know. But just know, listen, if you're a student, beware. If your teacher has half a brain cell, they can tell.
Well, yeah, if they blindly copy and paste without modifying it, yeah, of course you can tell. It's like, hey, wait a second, your voice completely changed here, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, fun question for you. So, if your fabulous book Beyond Sight, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
So it would be, oh my goodness, it would be really, my first thought was, but that's not really appropriate. I don't know, Mediterranean food. No, that's not right. I
Oh
don't
no, what's the
know.
first thought? We didn't hear that one. All right, what's the first one?
First thought was just something delicious with a lot of different spices in it, but I can't think of what that would be. Sourdough pizza.
Okay, all right, there you go. Well, no, I thought you were gonna say it was like soup made from bat wings or something. I thought you were gonna go that
Oh, that would be good. Yeah. Or Turkish delight.
route.
My name is Turkish, so that would make sense, but it's not as sweet as Turkish delight. So. Oh, how about pomegranate? It would be like eating pomegranates. Beautiful, beautiful food that's tasty and crisp and um, yeah, faceted.
There you go. There'll be seeds of ghosts in your home afterwards. That's right. Or stop. Well, there you go, pomegranate. Yes, right indeed, beyond sight. Although it's a lot of seeds, you can't ignore them. That's right indeed. You have to see them. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. But if you can go beyond it, you'll get the plus ultra swag. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
What advice would I give myself? Go to therapy. Go, do go to that therapist. You need it. Don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. You know, in fact, don't compare yourself at all. Know that who you are is needed by the universe in some way. And the more you are yourself, the better things will go for you and the people around you. Stop trying to be like other people. But these are all things we've all heard before, so it's not particularly unique. I'm sure I knew all those things at 25 too. It was just a matter of really integrating them into my life.
Ah, there you go. Who you are is needed by the universe, y'all. That's right indeed. We need you, dang gummit. That's right indeed. You listening right now, we need you. That's right indeed. We need you. That's right, Nintendo and everybody else, we need you. That's right indeed. You got a talent, y'all. That's right indeed. It's in you. So you got a gift. Someone's waiting to unwrap it. That's right indeed. They want that Turkish delight in their life for a reason. Metaphorically.
Yeah, I
That's
think,
right.
you do what you do, and then you will find your tribe. The more you act authentically from the urges that come through you from the universe, the more you will attract people to you who really appreciate that. If you spend all this time pretending to be something else, you're going to end up with friends who expect you to be something else all the time, which is a drag. So, yeah, you have to be brave and have faith that if you are authentically as you are, you will get rejected by some people, but then you have to say to yourself, that's good. I don't want those people in my life who don't appreciate me. And then if you keep shining, then the people who appreciate you will find you. If you don't shine, they will never find you. There's a great quote from, I'm not religious, but my mother taught the Bible as literature, so I know a lot about the Bible. And there's all these Gnostic gospels, which were the gospels that were written by prophets that were not included in the final version. It wasn't approved by the church. So in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you.
Yeah. That's right, D. That's right, D. It's moments like that where it's like, yep, that's why they didn't make it to the book for a reason.
Well, right, because what if what is within you is to be a serial murderer? It's like, so, I can immediately see the pitfalls to this advice. It's like, no, 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 not that, not that. But I guess, then the question is, well, what is authentically you? Is it the rage that you're feeling, or is it what's underneath the rage? Which often is hurt and fear, so that's the big caveat to that advice is like, well, yeah, don't bring forth the destructive stuff. But I think the thing is, you do have to bring it forth to understand it and have control over it. You just have to bring it forth in a way that isn't going to hurt other people. And that's where therapy and journaling really comes in handy.
So it ain't just PB and J, it's T and J. That's right, D. Therapy and journaling. That's right, D.
J, T, and J. Yeah, good.
That's right, Nita. I can tell it's gonna be in your mind. You're gonna drop it on somebody randomly for some no reason. It's gonna be great. She's gonna surprise people. That's right, indeed. It's like, yeah, I was on this podcast where he talked about the time he was a tree and there were magic mushrooms, and there was a fairy with a book in its hand that would wake people up if it got too lost in the plot. Like, come out of there. It's not that deep. It's just a ghost trying to get you to buy books. Get out of there.
That's not going to happen. You're not going to fall asleep when you read my books. No, no,
That's right. But you'll be transported to a new world. So for those who need to be transported into your world on a permanent note so they can keep up with all the stuff that you're doing and be aware about your new books and cop some copies of your current books, what's the best way for folks to do so?
yeah, visit my website, LâleDavidson.com, Lale Davidson with a D.com.
Woohoo! Well, you heard that right from Miss LD, not LSD, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed.
That too. I remember that. LD, not LSD.
That's right indeed.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do drugs for a long time. I actually have never tried acid because I was like, my brain is already on acid. I, I do not need any more.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. We heard that right, folks. Law's got you covered like a blanket. all the books, and she's got a creative brain, so more books are coming. That's right, indeed. You'll have a whole village of books soon. That's right, indeed. And then they can take up space on your shelf after reading them 3 times over. That's right.
3 times. Ooh.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. And then if you have a lampshade over your head while you're waiting for her to write the next book, that means you're in a good place. That's right. Well, before we go any deeper into that wonderful mystical forest of puns and other trapdoors, any parting words before we close up shop?
No, peace to all, and have a great rest of your week, and go outside and get some nature. If you're ever feeling despairing, a little walk in the woods, it's amazing what it'll do for you.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.